So there's been a lot of movement on these tariffs and trade policy recently. Let's just start with where exactly do the US and China stand on tariffs now?
In large part, you can think of it as being dialed back to where it was on April 2nd when these tariffs were announced. So the US is essentially now treating China the same as all the other countries, which were given the 90-day reprieve on the increase of the country specific rates. So although China has now had to deal with a month of 125% tariffs. Going forward, they'll have that same sort of 90-day window that everyone else had starting back in April.
So President Donald Trump has said that even if higher tariffs were to go back into effect on China, they wouldn't be as high as they were before at 145%. So, regardless of what happens in their upcoming trade talks, do you think it's fair to say that we've passed peak tariffs?
I think there are certainly reasons to look at it that way. So we just saw the publication of the executive order that sort of implements this at a somewhat technical level. They dialed it back to 34%, which is what it was originally when the reciprocal tariffs were announced and the country specific rates came out. There's also some movement on the de minimis side. De minimis is sort of shorthand for a provision of US trade law that allows entries valued at $800 or less to enter without incurring duty liability. There's a lot that's still in play, but there is reason to look at this and say, okay, this is most likely, we've seen the top level and perhaps it's behind us.
Taiwan is in the middle of its own trade talks with the US. Do you think these developments with China might impact Taiwan's negotiations?
One is you see in the US China deal, they're back to 10%. They're not going lower than that. You saw the same thing in the US UK deal that was announced last Thursday. A lot of the provisions in that US UK deal touch on sort of maintaining the benefits on a bilateral basis. So there is a concern that's been expressed sort of in that negotiating text and by Trump administration officials elsewhere to the effect that they want to combat sort of transshipment. They want to combat evasion. They don't want to enter into a deal with a trading partner and then have that become a funnel for goods from, let's say, China or other countries with which they haven't sort of come to terms with. Taiwan's actions show that they're trying to address it, and I think they're wise and right to do so from a negotiating standpoint.